Making money is one thing. Keeping it, that's a whole different game. I've seen people pull in six figures and still feel broke, and honestly, I've been guilty of the same. It's not always the big stuff that wrecks your wealth. It's the little habits that quietly drain your bank account while you're not paying attention. I remember adding up my so-called cheap daily spends once, and it hit me. I could have bought a whole new laptop with the money I'd blown without even thinking. That's why in this video, we're digging into the 10 worst financial habits that slowly destroy your wealth. Some of these might sting a little, but spotting them is the first step to finally getting ahead. 1. Living paycheck to paycheck. You know that feeling when your paycheck comes in and within a week it's basically gone? Bills, groceries, a dinner out here and there, and suddenly you're staring at your bank balance like, wait, how did that disappear so fast? That's the paycheck to paycheck trap. And it's not just people on low incomes who get caught in it. I've seen folks making six figures still living this way, and it's terrifying because one surprise expense, a car repair, a medical bill, even your fridge breaking can send you straight into debt. The habit here isn't just about spending everything you make. It's the mindset of never creating a buffer. Think about it like this. Imagine your bank account is a bucket. Every time you get paid, you pour water in. But if there's no lid, no savings cushion, then every little crack, every oops, I forgot about that bill, leaks water right back out. Before you know it, the bucket's empty. I remember one month I was so sure I'd been careful, but then Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, all those little auto pay charges, they hit at once. It wasn't a lot individually, but together, they pushed me into overdraft. And overdraft fees, they're like getting punished for being broke. The sad part is, living paycheck to paycheck also kills opportunities. You can't invest, you can't take risks, you can't say yes to something exciting because your money's already gone before you even think about it. Wealth doesn't grow in that environment. It's survival mode, not growth mode. So how do you break it? Step 1 is awareness. Track where every dollar goes for just 1 month. Most people are shocked at the leaks they find. Step 2 is automation, but in reverse. Instead of automating spending with subscriptions and buy now, pay later, automate saving. Even if it's just $50 a month, that $50 is proof that you can break the paycheck to paycheck cycle. And once you start, it snowballs. Bottom line, this habit keeps you stuck. It's not about how much you earn, it's about building a cushion so your money starts working for you instead of constantly running away from you. 2. Relying too much on credit cards. Now, credit cards aren't evil. In fact, when used wisely, they can actually help. Points, rewards, building credit score, all that. But the habit that destroys wealth is swiping without thinking. It's treating credit like free money, and trust me, the interest rates are where they getcha. 20%, sometimes more. That's not borrowing, that's digging a hole with a shovel made of steel. I'll admit, there was a time I thought, well, I'll just pay the minimum balance for now and I'll catch up later. Spoiler alert, I didn't. What actually happened was the balance grew faster than I could pay it down because interest compounds in the worst possible way when you're on the wrong side of it. Here's the psychological trap. Paying with a card doesn't feel like spending real money. Cash leaves your hand, you feel it. A card, swipe, beep, done. No pain, no pause. And because of that, people spend way more than they think. Studies have literally shown that people spend up to 100% more with cards than with cash. That's wild. And then comes the stress cycle. You look at your statement at the end of the month and your stomach drops. You promise yourself, next month I'll be better. But the minimum payment is so small, it tricks you into thinking you're managing. Meanwhile, the balance creeps higher and higher. That creeping debt is like financial quicksand. It looks manageable, but the more you move without a plan, the deeper you sink. The worst part? Every dollar in interest you pay is money that could have been growing for you. Imagine putting $200 toward a high-interest credit card bill versus investing that same $200. Over a year, the difference is staggering. One keeps you chained, the other starts to free you. So, what's the fix? First, stop seeing the card as extra money. It's not. It's borrowing from your future self. Second, if you've already got balances, line up your debts and attack the highest interest one first. That's called the avalanche method. Or, if you need small wins to stay motivated, do the snowball method and knock out the smallest debt first. Either way, the goal is freedom. Credit cards should be tools, not traps. Used well, they can work for you, but the moment you lean on them as a lifeline, that's when they start eating away at your wealth like termites in the walls. 3. Not tracking your spending. Here's the thing, money is sneaky. It slips away in little drips and drops, not big splashes. And if you're not paying attention, you wake up at the end of the month wondering where it all went. That's the trap of not tracking your spending. Most people think they know how much they spend, but when they actually sit down and check, the reality is usually double. I'll give you an example. For the longest time, I thought I spent maybe $100 a month on eating out. Not crazy, right? But one month I actually tracked it and it was closer to $300. Those quick lunches, those little snacks, those just grabbing something on the way home moments, they add up fast. I remember looking at my bank statement and thinking, no way, that can't be right. But it was. The reason this habit is so destructive is because you can't manage what you don't measure. Imagine driving a car with no dashboard, no speedometer, no gas gauge, no warning lights. That's basically what living without tracking your money looks like. You might be cruising along fine, but you have no idea how close you are to empty, and you won't realize until you're stranded. Now, I'm not saying you have to log every penny in a notebook like some kind of accountant, but even small awareness changes the game. Apps, spreadsheets, even just setting up your bank to send you weekly balance alerts can shift your perspective. It forces you to face reality. And reality can sting. It might hurt to realize you spend $80 a month on subscriptions you barely use, or that your daily just coffee habit actually costs more than your gym membership. But here's the flip side. Once you see it, you get to choose differently. You get control back. Without tracking, your money leaks out invisibly. With tracking, you spot the leaks and plug them. It's not about being cheap, it's about being in charge.
4. Lifestyle inflation. This one is brutal because it hides under the disguise of success. Lifestyle inflation is what happens when every time your income goes up, your spending goes up right alongside it. New job, bigger paycheck, suddenly you need a nicer car, a better apartment, the upgraded phone. It feels like leveling up, but in reality, you're running on a treadmill. I'll be real with you, when I got my first decent raise, I thought I deserved a celebration. So I upgraded my phone, went out more, and justified every purchase with, well, I can afford it now. Except I couldn't, not really. My expenses climbed right along with my income, so I wasn't actually saving or building anything. I just had shinier toys. And those toys didn't make me happier in the long run. They just reset my normal. That's the trap. The new lifestyle quickly stops feeling luxurious, it just becomes your baseline. And once it's your baseline, you crave the next upgrade, a bigger place, a fancier car, a vacation that's Instagram-worthy, and on and on. It never ends, because there's always another level to chase. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much you upgrade, your happiness resets to the same level, and you need another boost. Financially, it's poison, because instead of creating wealth, you're just creating obligations. Higher rent, bigger bills, more stress. And here's the kicker. Lifestyle inflation is one of the biggest reasons even high earners stay broke. People assume that if they just made more money, all their problems would vanish. But if you don't fix this habit, more money just means more spending. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. It doesn't matter how much you add, it still drains away. So what's the fix? Decide ahead of time what you'll do with any new income. For example, promise yourself you'll save or invest at least half of every raise. That way your lifestyle only grows a little, while your wealth grows a lot. Another trick? Stay grounded. Remember that enough is a moving target, and you don't actually need the upgrade every time it's dangled in front of you. At the end of the day, lifestyle inflation feels like progress, but it's really just a hamster wheel. The only way off is to consciously choose to let your wealth grow faster than your spending. 5. Ignoring an emergency fund. Picture this. Your car breaks down, the repair bill is $900, and payday isn't for another week. What does most people do? Swipe the credit card, maybe borrow from family, or worse, take out one of those awful payday loans. That's what happens when you don't have an emergency fund. Life throws you a curveball, and suddenly you're in survival mode. The crazy part is emergencies aren't rare, they're guaranteed. Cars don't ask permission before breaking down, kids don't time their doctor visits for when you've got extra cash, and layoffs don't wait until you've padded your savings. The only unknown is when it'll hit, not if. I'll be honest, for years I thought I could just figure it out when something unexpected happened. And technically, I always did. But it came at a price. Stress, debt, sometimes borrowing from savings that were meant for other things. One time my fridge died out of nowhere. I didn't have savings ready, so I ended up putting it on a credit card and paying way more than the actual fridge cost because of interest. That one mistake followed me for months. Here's the truth. An emergency fund isn't just about money, it's about peace of mind. Knowing you've got a few thousand tucked away means you can breathe easier. It means an unexpected expense doesn't turn into a financial crisis. It's the difference between handling life surprises with confidence versus panic. And no, you don't have to start with 3 to 6 months of expenses tomorrow. That's overwhelming. Start with 500, then aim for 1,000, then slowly work toward a bigger cushion. The habit here isn't about the number, it's about building the muscle of preparing before disaster strikes. Skipping an emergency fund is like playing financial roulette. You might get lucky for a while, but eventually life pulls the trigger. The smart move is to be ready before it happens. 6. Not investing early enough. This one hits hard because time is the biggest advantage we'll ever have in building wealth, and most people waste it. They tell themselves, I'll start investing when I make more money, or when I'm older. But the longer you wait, the more expensive that delay becomes. Think about it. If you invest $200 a month starting at 25, by the time you're 65, you could have close to $500,000, depending on returns. If you wait until 35 to start, you might only have half of that. The difference isn't how much you invested, it's when you started. That's the magic of compounding. Time multiplies money in a way nothing else can. I remember putting off investing because I felt like I didn't have enough to make it worthwhile. What's $50 going to do, right? But then I actually ran the numbers, and that $50 a month over decades turns into tens of thousands. It blew my mind, and also made me kick myself for not starting sooner. The danger of this habit is that it creates a permanent game of catch-up. People hit their 40s or 50s and suddenly panic because retirement is around the corner, and they're way behind. Then they're forced to either take huge risks with their money or accept that they'll be working much longer than they planned. And here's the kicker. You don't need to be a stock market genius to start. Index funds, 401ks, IRAs, these are simple, accessible tools. The hardest part is just taking that first step. Even if it feels small, it's better than waiting for some perfect moment that never comes. Not investing early enough is like ignoring a seed. The earlier you plant it, the bigger the tree grows. Wait too long, and you might not get shade when you need it most. 7. Failing to budget. Budgeting gets a bad rap. People hear the word and think restriction, like it's some punishment where you're not allowed to enjoy your money. But here's the truth. A budget isn't a prison, it's a map. Without it, you're basically wandering through your financial life blindfolded, hoping you don't fall into a ditch. I used to avoid budgeting because I thought it meant giving up fun. I told myself I don't want to live like a monk. But what actually happened was the opposite. I had less fun because I was always stressed. Nights out or trips felt guilty because deep down I knew I couldn't really afford them. When I finally started budgeting, I realized it didn't stop me from enjoying life, it gave me permission to enjoy it without stress. The problem with not budgeting is that you end up reacting to money instead of directing it. Bills come, you pay them. Expenses pop up, you scramble. You're constantly putting out fires instead of deciding ahead of time what matters most. That constant reaction mode keeps people broke no matter how much they make. A budget doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as the 50-30-20 rule, or just dividing your money into categories that make sense for you. Rent, food, fun, savings. The point isn't perfection, it's intention. Here's the best part. Once you start budgeting, you discover money you didn't know you had. It's like cleaning out your closet and finding a $20 bill in your jeans. All those leaks and random spends suddenly get exposed. And instead of feeling guilty, you get to redirect that money into things you actually care about, whether that's saving for a trip, investing, or building your emergency fund. Not budgeting isn't just a bad habit, it's like driving without a GPS. You might still get somewhere, but it'll take longer, cost more, and be way more stressful than it needs to be.
8. Procrastinating on debt repayment. Debt is one of those things that gets heavier the longer you carry it. And yet so many people keep putting off paying it down, telling themselves, I'll deal with it later. But later always comes with interest. And the longer you wait, the more it piles up. I'll never forget the first time I looked at my student loan statement after ignoring it for months. I hadn't even touched the principal, the amount I originally borrowed. All my tiny payments had just been going toward interest. It felt like trying to run up a down escalator. The The balance wasn't shrinking, it was laughing at me. The habit of procrastinating on debt repayment is dangerous because it gives you a false sense of control. As long as you're making the minimum payment, it feels like you're doing something. But in reality, you're barely scratching the surface. The debt is still there, quietly growing in the background, stealing money that could be building your future. Debt is also an emotional weight. Even when you're not thinking about it, it's there in the back of your mind. It shapes your decisions, limits your freedom, and creates this low-level stress that never fully goes away. The longer you procrastinate, the heavier it feels. So what's the move? Face it head on. Write down every debt you have, the balances, the interest rates, the minimum payments. Seeing it in black and white can feel brutal, but it's the first step to breaking free. Then pick a strategy. Snowball, start with the smallest balance for quick wins, or avalanche, tackle the highest interest first to save the most money. Either works. What matters is consistency. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Once you start aggressively paying off debt, you build momentum. Every balance you knock out feels like a weight lifted, and that energy pushes you to keep going. What felt impossible suddenly starts to feel doable. Procrastinating on debt is like letting weeds take over your garden. The longer you wait, the harder it gets to pull them out. But if you start now, little by little, you'll clear space for your wealth to grow. 9. Neglecting your health. At first, this one might not sound like a money habit, but trust me, it's one of the biggest wealth killers. Neglecting your health is like setting yourself up for financial landmines down the road. Medical bills, prescriptions, lost work days, all of that adds up. And unlike a splurge on clothes or gadgets, these costs aren't optional. They hit you when you're least prepared. I remember a friend who always skipped checkups because he thought it was a waste of money. He felt fine, so why bother? Then one day, he ended up in the ER with a condition that could have been caught early if he'd just gone for those routine visits. The hospital bill alone set him back thousands. And the kicker? Insurance only covered part of it. The habit of ignoring health doesn't just cost money in emergencies, it also chips away at your earning potential. If you're constantly tired, stressed, or sick, you can't perform at your best. Your energy is your greatest asset, and without it, making money, let alone keeping it, becomes way harder. The truth is, eating healthier meals, getting some exercise, and sleeping well might feel like small daily choices, but they're actually investments. An apple today might save you $1,000 tomorrow. A 30-minute walk could prevent a prescription you'd be paying for years. It's not dramatic, but it's real. Here's the financial punchline. People often say they don't have time or don't have money to take care of themselves. But in reality, not taking care of yourself is what ends up costing the most. Prevention is always cheaper than repair. Neglecting your health might feel harmless in the moment, but it's like running a marathon while carrying a backpack full of bricks. You might keep moving, but you'll burn out way sooner. Protecting your health is protecting your wealth. 10. Not having clear financial goals. Here's a truth that stings. If you don't know where your money is going, it will always find a way to disappear. That's what happens when you don't set clear financial goals. Without direction, your money just drifts, and usually drifts straight into expenses you don't even care about. Think about it. When was the last time you got a raise, bonus, or tax refund? Did you use it to get ahead, or did it vanish into random stuff? Most people can't even remember what they spent it on. That's the power of not having goals. The money just melts away. I've been there. I once told myself, I'll start saving seriously when I make more. But because I didn't have a target, every extra bit of income got swallowed up by lifestyle creep or impulse buys. It wasn't until I set a clear goal, saving for a down payment, that I actually started building momentum. Suddenly, every dollar had a purpose, and it was easier to say no to things that didn't matter. Goals give your money meaning. They also give you motivation. Saving just for the sake of saving feels boring, but saving for a trip, a house, financial freedom, or even just peace of mind, that hits different. It turns discipline into excitement. The danger of skipping goals is that you end up working hard your whole life with nothing to show for it. It's like running on a treadmill. Lots of effort, no forward motion. And wealth doesn't happen by accident. Nobody drifts into financial independence. It's always intentional. So how do you fix it? Start small. Pick one goal. It could be building a $1,000 emergency fund, paying off one credit card, or saving for a vacation. Write it down. Track it. Celebrate progress. Once you hit one, move to the next. Over time, those small goals stack into big ones. Not setting financial goals is like sailing without a destination. The wind blows, the waves crash, and you end up wherever the current takes you. But when you choose a destination, you can steer your ship. You can fight the current. You can actually arrive somewhere worth going. And hey, if even one of these habits made you go, "Oh man, that's me," don't beat yourself up. We've all been there. Honestly, I've fallen into almost every single one of these at some point. The good news is, just noticing it means you're already ahead of most people. If this video gave you that little spark of clarity, do me a favor and hit the like button so more people can find it too. And if you want to keep digging into money, psychology, and building real wealth step by step, go ahead and subscribe. That way you don't miss the next one. Oh, and if you got a friend or family member who definitely has one of these habits, share this video with them. It might be the nudge they need to finally break out of it. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.